On July 9th, 2020, Aisha Langford's mother waited patiently in her home with her 3 grandchildren for a familiar car to pull into the driveway. It was time for her youngest son, Detorius, to visit with his father, Henry, and when his Camaro pulled into the driveway, Aisha's mother got her son's stuff together to leave. Seeing the excitement that her younger brother had, 10-year-old Bri Asia wanted to go stay with Henry too, as she had been around when Aisha and Henry were together. She wanted to be with her brother and spend the night with Henry, begging her grandmother to let her go too. Bri Asia's older brother, seeing the excitement in his younger siblings' eyes, also wanted to go, having a night away with his siblings to have fun. After some convincing, 10-year-old Bri Asia Terrell and her half-brother Detorius happily went to the apartment of Henry Dinkins and his girlfriend, Andrea, to spend the night. After the car pulled away, the kids' grandmother let Aisha know that she had allowed Bri Asia to go to Henry and Andrea's apartment with Detorius, which Aisha was fine with. Knowing that her children were going to be away for the night, after Aisha got off work, she went home, packed a bag of clothes for her 2 children and ventured to Andrea's apartment to drop it off, which included pajamas for the 2. Aisha left her 2 children confidently in the care of Henry Dinkins, enjoying a night to herself while her kids were away. Despite her relaxation, just as any mother would, Aisha anxiously awaited updates from her children to let her know how they were doing and if they were okay. Around 9 p.m., Aisha received a text from Bri Asia which lovingly bid her goodnight. Aisha, knowing that her daughter and son were now safe and comfortable, drifted off to sleep in the comfort of her own bed. She never would have imagined that these words from her daughter would be the last before tragedy struck. Bri Asia Terrell was a 10-year-old girl who was full of love and happiness. With a smile that could light up even the darkest room, Bri Asia, even at her young age, knew the importance of making people happy and being a helping hand. She had a knack for noticing when people were down, doing her best to cheer people up when she could, especially her mother. She always did her best to help where she was needed, frequently helping her mother with the laundry and her brother Detorius with his homework. Bri Asia was a certified mommy's girl. She was attached to her mother very closely, always wanting to be by her side, her mother referring to her as her shadow. She told her mother absolutely everything, forming a relationship between the two that was absolutely unbreakable. Even though she was extremely close with her mother, Bri Asia had her own independent hobbies that she loved to do, such as music and drawing, 2 things that she always loved to share with others. Bri Asia was happy anywhere as long as she was with family. Davenport, Iowa is a large city that sits along the Mississippi River, a majestic body of water in the Midwest portion of the United States. Neighborhoods in Davenport range from historic districts with Victorian-style homes to modern developments. Each neighborhood had its own character, from the noisy streets of the downtown area to the quieter suburbs. Despite its size and urban amenities, Davenport remains a tight-knit community, featured by block parties, neighborhood cleanups, and other local events. The city's rich cultural heritage is celebrated through festivals, music performances, and art exhibitions that showcase the talents of the diverse residents. In 2020, Davenport, like the rest of the world, faced many challenges due to the effects of the pandemic and severe flooding of the Mississippi River. These events tested the resilience of the community, but also showed the great strength that can arise out of difficult circumstances as residents banded together to support each other during difficult times. This type of attitude was no different in the case of Bri Asia Terrell. In the early morning hours of July 10th, Andrea, Henry Dinkins' girlfriend at the time, was abruptly awoken, though she didn't know what the cause of it was. As she attempted to adjust her eyes to her surroundings, Andrea was immediately confused to find that both Henry was not on the air mattress next to her. She and Henry had been sharing an air mattress on the floor of their living room, while they gave Bri Asia and Detorius the bed to share. A twinge rattled inside her stomach as she began to adjust, thinking to then check on the children while she was awake. As she ventured into the bedroom, Andrea saw Dottorius at the foot of the bed, but didn't see Bri Asia. She put her glasses on to make sure, seeing clearly that Bri Asia was not in the bed with her younger brother. Andrea immediately called Henry to find out where he and Bri Asia could have gone, but all she received on the other end of the line was the familiar tone of Henry's voicemail. It hadn't even rung before the voicemail rang through the line. Was his phone off? Concerned, Andrea could not go back to sleep, unsure of what to do. She didn't have Aisha's number, so she couldn't call her to see if Henry had possibly taken Bri Asia home. She sat wide awake in the darkness of the living room. She hadn't turned a single light on, so as not to wake or alarm the young Dottorius sleeping just feet away from her. Just 30 minutes later, Andrea heard the sound of a key in the lock of her front door, followed by footsteps softly walking up the stairs. The familiar figure of Henry Dinkins walked into the living room, calming Andrea's heart, but only slightly. As Henry walked through the house and into the bedroom where Dottorius slept, Andrea looked out the window to see Bri Asia in the parking lot in a white t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops. Andrea breathed a full sigh of relief as she realized that Bri Asia was okay and that Henry had been taking her back to her mother's house. Since Bri Asia was so close with her mother, it wasn't surprising that she would become homesick when away from her mother. As the adrenaline wore off as Henry pulled away, Andrea was finally able to go back to sleep. Fast forward to 8 a.m., hours since Andrea had seen Bri Asia in the front yard of her apartment complex. Aisha, Bri Asia's mother, had been trying to call Henry since she got up for work that morning to check on Bri Asia and Dottorius, becoming frustrated with his lack of response. After sending a text message to Henry asking him to call her back, he immediately called her with the news that he had just woken up and Bri Asia had vanished. After hearing this news, Aisha immediately went into a frenzy at the thought of her daughter being gone. She left work and rushed to Henry and Andrea's apartment, arriving at around 9 a.m. Although Dottorius was still safely inside the apartment, Aisha arrived to see with her own eyes what she had been told, that her only beloved daughter had vanished.
Your mom?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you spell it?
AISHIA.
Last name?
Langford, LA. NK FORD.
Date of birth?
8/28 of 1991.
Address?
614 West 63rd Street, apartment number 1.
Phone number?
563
Yep.
676 4247.
Okay. And Henry lives here.
Yeah, I guess so. This is where he told me to come.
Okay.
He don't even know how long she's even been gone.
Yeah. What's your daughter's name?
Bri Asia, BREA
EA.
SIA.
BREASIA?
Yes.
Okay.
Terrell, TERRELL.
Okay. What's her middle initial?
D.
Her date of birth?
12/4/09.
As police arrived at Andrea's apartment complex, the officer began to question Aisha, Dottorius, and Henry about when they had last seen Bri Asia and her activities from the night before.
Okay. What's up, Henry? So when was the last time you saw her?
She was in the house.
Yeah, when was the last time you saw her?
9:30.
Last night?
9:30.
Okay. Okay.
With him.
Okay. When was the last time you saw her?
She was in the bed when I woke up this morning.
She was in the bed?
Yeah.
When you went to bed last night? Okay.
This is crazy, man. This is like, you know what I'm saying? I know she fucking going fucking hysterical, big brother.
Yeah. DIN.
KINS.
It was at this point that it was revealed that Henry had his own address, separate from that of Andrea, his girlfriend, though Henry struggled to remember it.
Is this your home address?
No.
What's your address?
It's down by Ralston Carina.
I just.
Yeah, I just know that.
You don't know your
I don't know the
address?
full address.
Do you know your phone number?
Hell no, I don't even know that either. I swear to God, I don't.
Henry, you don't know where your daughter is, you don't know your address, and you don't know your phone number.
No, for real. I'm finna
So,
give it to you now. You think I'll be lying, but
well, no, it's just it's kind of.
because I don't call myself.
I know, but you got to know your number. You got to know your address.
I don't.
So this is your girlfriend's address here?
Just a friend.
Okay.
Okay, here go my phone right here.
After gaining his other address, the officer questioned Henry and Detorius about her description and what she had been wearing to bed the previous night.
Okay, what was she last wearing?
In the bed.
What you have on, some shorts?
What color?
I don't remember. I mean, I'm not going to even lie to you. I don't
What's her height and weight, you think?
She's a little taller than he is.
She's sister.
Okay.
She's a little taller than that. She's probably not like this here.
Okay. What's her hair look like?
She had
Brownie,
dreads. Long.
dreads. Yep.
Long.
Long and dreads hair?
Yep.
Like shoulder length or
Down.
middle of the back?
Down here.
Okay. Mid back, dreads. Right? Is that how we would
Yes.
label that?
Yes.
She had shorts on.
Did she still have a white shirt on?
She had she had the shirt that you gave her.
The white shirt.
All white?
It's
White,
long.
all white t-shirt. Yep.
You guys don't have alarms or anything on your doors if the door's open?
Nah.
Okay.
You should get one. You should get one.
It's too late.
And-
I'm talking about getting one.
Listen, I know this sounds dumb. I've lost my kids too.
Right.
Okay. Actually, mine just happened last week. And we went back in and we found them in the bedroom.
No, we just searched.
The officer at the scene then asked Henry if he was sure that he looked everywhere in the apartment, or if he had knocked on anyone else's door to see if Bri Asia had wandered away.
I don't know these people out here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But I called her.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And she told me she was at work. At first, I was riding around looking. And then me and my son started riding around looking.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then
So how long ago has it been? An hour?
it's been a couple hours.
Couple hours?
Couple hours.
Okay.
As the officer on the scene asked Aisha for a picture of Bri Asia, she began to argue with Henry about the manner in which Bri Asia had disappeared.
He need a picture of her.
You don't have nothing with you right now. Okay, that's fine. Have we called family?
I've called everybody. I have my
Okay.
uncle out riding around. My mom's on her way out here. My
We've been
friend's on their
everywhere.
way out
We've
here.
been everywhere.
Okay. And she's gonna be with a friend inside some apartment,
That's
most
why I
likely.
just said I'm gonna still look.
Okay.
We don't know anybody out here though. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
She would have never.
How many-
She would have never. First of all, she would have never woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and she would have never.
What you mean?
she
8 o'clock in the
I'm
morning.
just saying.
That ain't what I
She
said. I
definitely-
never
I
said
know
that.
Okay,
you
guys,
didn't say
guys,
that.
this isn't the time to fight.
Exactly. I don't give a fuck about you walking. You lost her though.
How did I lose?
Because you was watching her, Henry. What the you mean?
Henry was sure that Bri Asia wandered off to a friend's apartment, but Aisha argued that Bri Asia would never behave in that way, saying that she knew better than to leave without letting anyone know. The officer tried to calm the tension between the two, but the conversation grew louder and louder until both of the parents became so angry that they stormed off in separate directions, Detorius trailing behind his mother.
But hey,
I'm going, sir. Come on, D.
listen to me. Well, you guys gotta come together right now. This isn't a time to fight about it. Okay? Hey, if you...
The officer did his best to bring them back together, hoping that he could gain some more information about Bri Asia, but Aisha had already gotten into her car.
How am I supposed to... What do you want me to do?
I got everything, bro. I got nothing. You see how she stepped on me. You know what
I
I'm saying?
mean,
I
I got no picture. I got no... What do you want me to do?
What am I supposed to do? You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
I get
All
it.
thing I can do is
Henry,
look.
I get it. I
All
get
I
it.
can do is look.
I get it, Henry.
After some conversation, the officer was able to convince Henry to let him into the apartment where Bri Asia was last seen, trying to reassure him that Bri Asia was likely safe. As they journeyed back to the apartment, the officer continued to console Henry as he was still recovering from the blow-up with his ex-girlfriend.
Henry, let's go inside the apartment one more time. Look, this happens more often than you think. I understand why she's upset. But
understand, too.
when I'm trying to
upset,
help, she
but you
can't run
get
away from
upset.
me.
You can't
I
get
don't
upset and deal with the issue.
Yes.
You got to keep a level head. You know that. I learned that a long time ago. Fuck, man.
104 and 105.
How many times have you guys stayed out here?
How many times have I been out here?
105.
The kids, this is their first time.
Oh, it's the very first time she's ever stayed
104
here.
and 105. Start 4.
And so she
They've
has
been over here, but they never stayed.
She has never stayed here.
The daughter out.
Like I said,
So I wonder just.
The daughter saying she was assaulted by the mom, and that the mom is not allowing her to get her things.
The officer and Henry arrived at Andrea's apartment, where the officer journeyed inside and looked for any signs of Bri Asia.
Hi there. Are you Andrea?
Yeah.
Okay, Andrea. What's your date of birth, Andrea? So tell me about, like, when was the last time you saw her?
She was here.
When?
What time was I? Probably sleeping like around 11 midnight. She was here. She was in bed sleeping.
Okay. And you guys never heard her come down, walk out? There's no forced entry or anything like that?
No forced entry, no.
Okay. Do you mind if I just come in and take a quick look? I'm not concerned about anything else. I just want to come in because probably 50% of the time we still find them inside the place when this happens. And was there any fights or arguments or anything last night? Bri is her name? Where was she sleeping at? Your bed? So where were you guys sleeping at last night? You guys slept out here?
Andrea, Henry's girlfriend and owner of the apartment, had stated that by the time she woke up, Bri Asia was already missing, with Henry and Detorius driving around looking for her.
Can you look in the closet again? Huh?
That's all closed.
I know, I'm just telling you, you'd be surprised what we've...
I know, right?
After thoroughly searching the inside of Andrea's apartment, the officer journeyed back outside to begin looking around the development for Bri Asia, asking for Andrea and Henry's help.
Does she have any friends out here? Like, has she ever played with any of the neighbors?
No, not at all.
Okay, are you going to come out and help look or not?
Discerning that there was no sign of Bri Asia in the immediate area, the officer on scene knew that this was now a serious matter, and an investigation had to be launched to search for Bri Asia's whereabouts. After failing to locate Bri Asia at the apartment's development, the officer on scene decided to make his way back to the station, asking Henry Dinkins to meet him there so he could be interviewed.
Henry, what's up, dog?
You need to see your phone?
No, I was calling the officer back. Yeah, I'm down. Okay. Hello?
Okay, but thinking you so long you answer my phone call and text messages.
Well, I didn't see your phone call. I just answered it just now, did I?
Okay, you're at the police station?
Yes, sir. I'm right here right now.
Alright, do you have any info for us?
What type of info? Like what? Like what?
Tell them that, hey,
Yeah, he's in the interview room right now. And
hey, we're going to interview with him. We got it.
Hang tight.
Your phone's going to be sitting right here, okay?
Okay.
Investigators waited upwards of 2 hours for Henry Dinkins to arrive at the police station, with Dinkins finally showing face at around 12 p.m. This is where Henry told the investigators that he did have his own home, a mobile home not far from Andrea's apartment, but he could not remember the address, mimicking what he had told the officer on scene.
Is this your home address?
No.
What's your address?
It's down by Ralston Carina.
I just...
Yeah, I just know that.
You don't know your
I don't know the
address?
full address.
Do you know your phone number?
Hell no, I don't even know that either.
And then the address is your address up there?
No,
or?
no. I live in my mobile.
And where's that?
I don't know the address. I just know it's right there by Nestle Parinas.
And that's where you stay?
Yes.
Is there an address associated with
I mean,
it?
I don't know the address, you know what I mean? But there's an address on the building,
Okay.
but I don't know the address on the building. No, I don't. That's what the officer was asking me, and I told him I didn't know it.
Henry then explained how he practically raised Bri Asia, spending a significant amount of her early life with him.
And then do you have any other biological?
No, I raised Bri Asia.
Since how old was she?
My baby.
Okay. And so you raised her with Aisha?
Yes.
How long were you and Aisha together for?
Like 2 years. But we stayed close friends.
But you guys stayed close. So how long? So you guys
We've
were
been
together
friends.
for
We've
2
been
years?
friends all the way up to now.
Okay. And how long ago did you guys break up? Break it off?
It's like 6 years ago. I'm only guessing that. I'm not.
Yeah, approximate though.
Right.
He emotionally discussed how he had awoken early in the morning, left to get cigarettes, and returned to find Bri Asia was gone.
Before I left, Notorious was still playing the game, and I went in there, and he said he was done playing the game, so I turned the TV off, and he went to sleep. And then, you know what I'm saying, I went in the living room, sat around for a while, bored, you know what I'm saying, left, came back, you know what I'm saying.
How long were you gone for?
I don't know, probably soon 45 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes, I don't know, somewhere around there.
Okay. And then you come back, and then kind of what do you do when you get back? Nothing. Did you just go to bed, or did
No,
you
I wasn't
stay in the living room?
I was in the living room. I wasn't even
Okay.
tired.
Yeah.
But when I was there, you know what I'm saying, I periodically checked them and make sure they was good in there, because we had the air conditioner on, so I had to unplug it because it gets too cold.
Okay.
So I pretty much, you know what I'm saying, like I said, when I realized that, and it's kind of odd because I never known Bri to ever leave, ever. You know what I'm saying? Never, ever leave. It was just odd, you know what I mean? And when I realized it, you know what I'm saying, like I said, I went looking around, then when I came back, Andrea was up. She like, what's wrong? I'm like, man, something ain't right, you know what I'm saying? I was freaking out a little bit, so she like, I'm like, man, I'll talk to you in a minute, let me gotta figure this out. And, you know what I'm saying, because I didn't want her stressing, you know what I'm saying, so, and then, when I came back, I grabbed Dink, you know, and I'm like, man, he like, Dad, where is Bri? I said, I don't know. He's like, and then we rolled around, and then I texted his mom. When I texted his mom, she was at work, and she was like, I'm like, hey, Bri's missing. She's like, well, stop playing with me. You know what I'm saying? Stop playing with me, Henry. So I'm like, man, no, I'm not playing. I'm for real.
He sprung into action, searching the parking lot and neighboring streets to see if Bri Asia had left the apartment on her own. When he realized that Bri Asia was nowhere near, he knew that he needed to get behind the wheel and branch to new locations. Henry briefly went back to Andrea's apartment, picked up Notorious, and continued his search for Bri Asia, with Andrea sleeping all the while. Police continued to ask clarifying questions about what he had done that day, his relationship with Bri Asia and Notorious, and Andrea's apartment. Following this explanation, the investigator wanted to know what took Henry so long to arrive at the police station following the on-scene visit. Henry explained that he was still so angry from his argument with Aisha at the apartment that he decided to drive around for a bit to cool off and continue to look for Bri Asia on his own. He briefly stopped at his mobile home nearby to grab some money for gas, continued his search, stopped at his mother's apartment, and finally arrived at the police station. It was during this interview that they discovered some shocking information. He had been on the offender registry since 1990, following a conviction of a crime involving inappropriate actions with a young girl, with Dinkins being 17 at the time. By the time he was 18, he had pled guilty to the crime, receiving a sentence of 10 years in prison. Additionally, investigators learned that Henry Dinkins had violated the terms of his offender registry, failing to update his address once he moved in with Andrea in the Davenport apartment a month prior. Because of this, police were required to arrest Henry Dinkins to pursue this violation. Following this, police wanted to do their best to ensure that every possible avenue of explanation about what could have happened to Bri Asia was explored. After 4 full days of searching mercilessly for Bri Asia, police wondered what could have happened to her when she was under the care of adults for what seemed like the entirety of her day. This is when police, without anywhere else to turn, began looking at family members. They thought back to the blow-up that took place between Aisha and Henry, as well as the low-energy demeanor of Andrea, trying their best to find any pieces of suspicious information. This is a common tactic that police utilize, checking into the adults that may have been close with missing children to form connections and discover a timeline for what could have occurred. This is why police first began looking at Henry Dinkins, as Bri Asia was most recently under the care of him and his girlfriend. Before Henry was arrested and during his interview, investigators received consent to retrieve the data off of his cell phone to try and discern what Henry had been doing the day that Bri Asia went missing. Going backwards from his arrival to the police station, police first discovered that he had visited his mother's apartment just before making his way to Davenport Police, another thing that put officers on edge. Wanting to search all possible angles, police officers visited the home of Henry Dinkins' mother to ensure that nothing suspicious was going on. However, upon visiting the apartment, they didn't find anything of note. Continuing to look through Henry's phone records, they found nothing during the night of July 9th, besides 2 incoming phone calls at 3:12 a.m. Police quickly discerned that this must have been Andrea calling Henry when she realized that he was not in the apartment, with his phone going straight to voicemail. Confirming Andrea's suspicions at the time, it was clear from these phone records that Henry's cell phone was disconnected from data, meaning that it was turned off at the time of these phone calls. Considering this, police also remembered that Andrea had realized after calling Henry that his phone was still inside the apartment, even though it was usually attached to his hip, as he described. However, this information, while intriguing, gave no more information than police had before. As the search continued, police continued to try and gather all the necessary information that they could, next turning to try and question 8-year-old Detorius, who shared a bed with Bri Asia the night before she vanished. He also explained a calm, seemingly normal night at Andrea's apartment, explaining that they had played games together, eaten dinner, and eventually gone to sleep. When asked about what happened the following morning, Detorius explained that his father had woken him early in the morning, driving to multiple locations with him, most notably to their local Walmart. This was consistent with what Henry had explained, and police turned to other avenues. With no information from the family, police turned to any possible surveillance footage or eyewitnesses from the area to try and catch Bri Asia's whereabouts. First turning to Henry's other address, his mobile home nearby, police questioned neighbors to see if anyone had security cameras of the area to see if they had seen anything suspicious the night of Bri Asia's disappearance. The first video surveillance showed a dark-colored sedan, possibly a Chevrolet Impala, pull up to Henry's RV, stay for about 15 minutes, and then pull away at about 2 o'clock in the morning. Although this raised red flags, police already knew that Henry Dinkins drove a black Chevrolet Camaro, which did not match the vehicle that the witness had seen. Who could this person be, and why were they at Henry's empty mobile home in the middle of the night? Officers were receiving more questions than answers.
Police focused again today on a 25-square-mile area of Clinton County. Hundreds of officers and volunteers spent hours on this hot summer day trying to find her. Bri Asia's mother was part of the crowd.
The search continues for missing 10-year-old Bri Asia Terrell.
This is going to be your map. Take it with you. Inside here is a blow-up of that same area.
The Clinton and Scott County emergency management agencies and local law enforcement work to coordinate with volunteers to assist in the search for Bri Asia. And dozens of volunteers showed up to assist, including Bri Asia's mother, Aisha Langford.
And I appreciate those that it touched, you know, those who faced my daughter touched, those that came out and actually brought t-shirts and, you know, out here in the sun getting bit up.
She's remaining hopeful her daughter will come back home.
I know it. I feel it. I know it. I know it. I know it. I mean, we're walking through the woods, but I still feel that she's located in someone's house. I do know that much. I mean, and if she's anywhere out here in these woods or something, that's because they had to let her go because, the tension is getting a bit too hot out here for them because, I mean, she's everywhere. And it's going to be that way until she comes home.
And she's hoping that with the help of so many, that maybe some leads will be found.
I thank our community, and I also thank you guys for keeping updates and things like that, and also keeping her not only in the news so that he can make sure that he see her face and let her know that I'm not going anywhere at all. You will never get to sleep in that cell until she's home.
Aaliyah Sims, Local 4 News.
Investigators remembered from Henry's interview that he had visited the convenience store the morning before he discovered Bri Asia missing. Upon reviewing video surveillance from the store, police confirmed that Henry had visited the convenience store, but much earlier than he had originally led officers to believe. The footage caught Henry Dinkins walking into the store at 3:33 a.m., just after Andrea had attempted to call him. According to Henry, he couldn't remember what time he was out, as he left his phone inside the apartment. Police did not question this further, and given the fact that Henry had said that once he returned, he noticed Bri Asia missing, they had assumed it was much later in the morning. With this suspicious piece of information arising, police decided to continue to utilize the security footage to track Henry after he left the convenience store. Police watched Henry leave the store and return to his car, and what they see on the camera is shocking. The car that Henry returned to was not that of a black Chevrolet Camaro, but a different colored, dark-colored sedan. Perhaps this was one that was seen at his RV an hour before? As police continued to question this fact, another shocking realization hit them. Andrea owned a dark red Chevrolet Impala. Continuing to follow Henry's tracks in the newly identified vehicle, police spot the same vehicle traveling on the highway just 15 minutes later. After this, Henry's whereabouts go untracked for a long while, with no sign of him resurfacing until he returns to Andrea's apartment and picked up Titorius while she is sleeping at around 6:30 in the morning. 3 hours of undocumented time. As police became more and more concerned with the information they were finding about Henry, they remembered from their interview with Titorius that Henry had taken him to Walmart earlier in the morning on July 10th. Sure enough, Henry was seen on security footage walking through Walmart at 7 in the morning on July 10th, just as Titorius had described. Police watched and became more and more unsettled as they saw Henry walk down the cleaning aisle, picking up 2-gallon bottles of bleach and place them in the cart. Without grabbing any other items, Henry paid for the items and left, Titorius supposedly waiting in the car as he was not present with Henry inside the store. The next place where Henry or Andrea's vehicle is spotted is around 8 a.m., just before Henry had spoken to Aisha to let her know that Bri Asia had gone missing. This surveillance tracked Henry driving to Credit Island, a wooded area and well-known fishing spot in the Devonport area. Before long, Henry returned back to Devonport, where the same footage from the RV park caught the same dark-colored sedan returning to Henry's RV, and leaving just in time to meet police officers back at Andrea's apartment complex. Could Henry really have been looking for Bri Asia like he said in his interview? All signs were pointing to Henry's lies, and police had to find the truth. While investigators attempted to unpack all of the information that they had gathered from the security footage, there was still manpower out on the ground looking high and low for any sign of Bri Asia. Another 4 days passed, making it almost 2 weeks since Bri Asia was last seen, and officers as well as Bri Asia's family became wary. Even though there was a mountain of security footage which made Henry the primary person of interest in the case, all of this evidence was circumstantial at best and did nothing to point to Henry's involvement in Bri Asia's disappearance. However, the footage did help officers by informing them to extend their search to neighboring counties, due to the fact that Henry had been spotted traveling to Credit Island on the early morning of July 10th, and was known to have connections in other counties besides Devonport. Waves of volunteers had been working tirelessly over the past 10 days as search parties in the case of Bri Asia, hoping that they could find any sliver of possibility that she was alive and well, somewhere safe. Because of the continuous fruitless efforts, police called off the search parties, turning their attention to finding out the true story of how Bri Asia went missing as officers continued to search on their own. On July 25th, it was made known to police that Dinkins, who they had been looking into, had a warrant out of a neighboring county for his involvement in the sale of illicit substances, being convicted of cooking and transporting over 2 pounds of illegal properties. This added even more suspicion to Henry and his true colors as a habitual criminal, and they wondered if Bri Asia could have gotten caught up in the web of his devious activities. It was just after this that Aisha, Bri Asia's devastated mother, took to the local press through News 8 to discuss her thoughts over the course of the past 2 weeks. She revealed how she had visited Henry Dinkins in jail the day after officers had arrested him, wanting to get every piece of information that Henry had. Aisha described how Henry had broken down into tears almost immediately, something that she had never seen him do in the 3 years they had been together. It was from this moment on that Aisha said that she knew Henry was guilty, and that she was going to do everything she could to prove it. Despite the efforts of a ruthless mother in search for answers, days and weeks passed by, all without a scrap of information or evidence to lead police closer to Bri Asia. They had a mountain of circumstantial evidence which pointed to Henry Dinkins' suspicion, as well as Aisha's intuition of Henry's guilt, but nothing to prove that he had taken Bri Asia. Police began to lose hope and momentum as 3 months passed without any updates in the case.
The last few months have been the longest of Aisha Langford's life.
It's been hectic. I mean, for all these seasons to come and, she's still not here.
There's been more than 4 months of praying for her daughter's safe return, with searches coming up empty and questions with no answers.
It's about, getting her word out and getting her face seen and keeping her name everywhere.
She says she recently began counseling after rampant rumors and allegations began swirling on social media.
It definitely hit a hard spot for me.
To help her get through tough times, she turns to her purple notebook, which is her daughter's favorite color.
Yeah, it's a lot of peace for me. Yeah, a whole lot of peace.
Nearly every one of the 123 days since her daughter went missing, Langford writes letters to Bri Asia, Dinkins, and documents every detail leading to her daughter's disappearance.
I write in my book a lot so that when she comes home, she'll be able to know, like, oh, well, this is what my mom was going through. This is what she was thinking. And when my hands get tired, I just type in my phone.
She still holds on to hope that she'll one day be reunited with her daughter.
I mean, I think about it every day. I write about it every day. I can't wait. I can't wait until she's like actually in my arms. Her birthday's coming up next month, and the kids' birthdays, those type of things are definitely touchy.
But she says she has to be strong for Bri Asia.
I mean, just keeping that faith alone, I mean, that's enough to push me on.
Aaliyah Sums, Local 4 News.
Bri Asia's family would not stand for the light of Bri Asia's case to burn out, holding a 2-day march on November 14th and 15th to reignite the fire of awareness in Bri Asia's case. But these efforts yielded no results, with Bri Asia's birthday, December 10th, 2020, passing without her presence. By March of 2021, Bri Asia's case had faded into the background, another face lost in the darkness of mystery. This is until March 22nd, when 2 fishermen made a shocking discovery in the waters of DeWitt, a place nearby to Davenport.
Brendan Rogie, Jesse Dow, and Eric Johnson decided to go fishing on March 22nd, 2021 at that pond near Kunau Implements, the one we have now become very familiar with. As they were walking towards the pond, Rogie says he noticed something white in a wooded area. He then realized it was a skull. Johnson, thinking it was fake, then picked up the skull to look at it.
It's just not something that you see every day. So I picked it up and kind of just sat where I was and looked around, and that's when we found the other remains.
Once you picked up that skull, what did you determine?
That it was real.
Police immediately rushed to the location to see if this was anything substantial, and the horrifying truth that everyone had come to accept might finally be confirmed, as the fishermen reported that they had found human remains in the water. Could this be her? Could this be Bri Asia? An autopsy was performed as quickly as possible, with the remains being identified as Bri Asia Terrell on March 31st, 2022. 9 grueling months after she had vanished. Police knew exactly who did this, and they wouldn't let him get away this time.
2 local fishermen discovered what was believed to be human remains. When deputies arrived on scene, they immediately notified our investigations unit, the command staff from the Clinton County Sheriff's Office.
Officers launched themselves into another investigation of Bri Asia's case, doing their due diligence to recover any scrap of physical evidence possible. Bri Asia's autopsy revealed little, and the only piece of physical evidence they had was a pair of undergarments found in Henry's RV, which tested positive for Bri Asia's DNA. After searching the scene of Bri Asia's discovery for any evidence, officers discovered the clothes that Henry had been wearing that night, ones that were covered in discoloration consistent with bleach stains. Police believe that this is what Henry had used the bleach on following his visit to Walmart with Detorius. Although it had been a while, investigators re-interviewed Detorius to see if he remembered seeing Henry do anything with the bleach he had bought. Detorius recalled driving to the location where Bri Asia was found and witnessing his father pour out the bleach he had purchased in the bushes near the car. While this was still circumstantial, it was physical at least. As police worked around the clock to collect every shred of evidence possible in Bri Asia's case, a shocking piece of information walked into the Davenport police station, provided by a mysterious man named Jared Brink. As the investigators sat down with Jared Brink, he listened intently as the mystery man shared about his interaction with Henry Dinkins on the early morning of July 10th.
I take that gravel road that goes around the backside of Kuhnau's.
Okay.
And then I jump onto the 4-lane and head south.
Okay.
About a half mile around the corner, and a black man jumped out the road in front of me and waved his arms.
At around 4:30 in the morning, a time where Henry had gone untracked, Jared had noticed that Henry's car was stuck in a ditch, and he was looking for help to get it out.
Yeah, he said he made a wrong turn. He was coming back from Clinton and Davenport.
When I looked at him, I did not suspect anything like of an abnormal person.
Okay.
Answering to the waving arms of Henry, Jared described him as wearing a dark t-shirt with white shorts and white shoes, different from what he had been seen wearing in the security footage at the convenience store.
For some reason, I see some kind of blue design in the shorts.
Jared and Henry worked together to get his car out of the mud of the ditch, where Henry thanked Jared and went on his way.
I said, you know what's weird about them finding that body up there or whatever? I said, last fall, and I said, I can't remember the date. I said, I pulled a black man out of the ditch there.
After Jared had seen Henry's face on the news following Bri Asia's discovery, he knew what he had to do, and made his way to the police station as soon as he could.
It's like, oh my God. He said, you don't know Bruin and Bella? And I said, no, what? Well, that's that girl that's missing. They're speculating that's that car.
This gave police exactly what they needed, placing Henry and his car at the scene of the crime. On May 5, 2021, attorney Mike Walton announced that Henry Dinkins had finally been charged with his crimes, including first-degree homicide and first-degree kidnapping. Because of the severity of this crime, Henry was denied bond and was held in jail as he awaited his trial after pleading not guilty. As we've seen time and time again in the American court system, it would be many months until Henry would see the inside of a courtroom again, waiving his right to a speedy trial and leaving Bri Asia's family waiting for another year in agony. His trial date was set for May 9th, 2022. By the time Dinkins' trial would finally begin, it would almost be 2 years since Bri Asia disappeared. During this prolonged waiting period, Henry would consistently experience problems with his attorneys, requesting a new lawyer multiple times. As Aisha and the rest of Bri Asia's family patiently waited their day in court to receive justice for their daughter, granddaughter, and sister, their hearts were broken again as the trial date was moved again to October of 2022.
Local 4 News brings you an exclusive sit-down interview with the suspect's sister. Nita McQuaid never backed down from supporting Henry Dinkins the past 3 years. She says he didn't kill anyone. Local 4's Linda Cook has tonight's top story.
I know that my brother is innocent. I don't believe that my brother would commit such a crime like that. I feel that only God knows, and the parties that were there.
McQuaid speaks with her brother, who is incarcerated, about 5 days per week. Meanwhile, she and the rest of her family have struggled for about 3 years, ever since the day in July 2020 when Bri Asia disappeared.
I have my good days and bad days, but long as I can talk to my brother and talk to my family, I'm just fine. It has been hard.
Her faith has helped get her through the bad days.
I believe in God. I believe in faith. I also believe in what's right. Me and my brother always been close. We did everything together. Henry's always been an awesome brother. always been there for me. I've always been there for him.
When the day finally came, Henry Dinkins had made another shocking move, waiving his right to a jury trial. This meant that Henry's trial, verdict, and sentencing would be solely decided by the judge. During the trial, the prosecution did their best to piece together the essential question. Why? Why would Henry Dinkins do this to a daughter that he stated he raised as his own? This is when Henry's offender status surfaced, with the prosecution asserting that Bri Asia had been experiencing inappropriate advances from Henry, though no evidence of this existed in her autopsy. Despite this, investigators had found a pair of Bri Asia's undergarments inside Henry's mobile home, believing that Henry had taken Bri Asia to his RV when he was spotted on surveillance at 2 a.m. on July 10th. In response, Henry's defense capitalized on the lack of physical evidence, noting the lack of other evidence inside the RV as well as inside the Impala that he drove that night.
Did you note any areas within this vehicle that did fluoresce or appear to perhaps have some bodily fluids?
Yes, there were some areas on the rear seat that did. On the side of this black and white bag, towards the very front of the trunk, you could see an axe head. We didn't want to manipulate or move anything, but that is what was viewed. On that axe, there was some indication that there could be blood.
Henry himself remained silent throughout the entire proceeding, waiving his right to testify on his own behalf.
He didn't seem very concerned. He seemed very relaxed.
That's Officer Craig Burkle's description of Henry Dinkins as he responded to a missing child report. Burkle's body camera showing he first made contact with Aisha Lankford, Bri Asia's mother.
She was concerned that her daughter was missing, and that's what she said. Shortly after that, Henry came out from inside the building. What's up, Henry?
After days of hearing testimonies from Aisha, Andrea, and Titorius, the prosecution and defense finally rested their cases. The decision was left to the hand of the judge and the judge alone, the jury bench remaining empty for the duration of the trial. It was an absolute toss-up. It could go either way, as the timeline of events made it clear that Henry Dinkins maliciously and viciously took the life of Bri Asia Terrell, but there was extremely little physical evidence to actually prove it. However, Henry Dinkins' criminal history, especially regarding his offenses against a young girl so many years ago, placed even more suspicion that he could be capable of such despicable crimes. After what seemed like forever, the judge had finally come to a decision. As Bri Asia's family filed into the court, as well as Henry Dinkins and his defense team, everyone held their breath as they waited to hear what the judge had decided.
Mr. Dinkins, this is your opportunity to address me and tell me what you would like me to know before I pronounce sentence in this case.
What are you supposed to do when you're told you can't even speak in court, especially when you see and know something ain't right? Logistically, it's like having a gag order, which prevents you from addressing the court with any of the issues. Right now, I'm the underdog rising through these misfortunes. I have to stay strong through this predicament. My God taught me failure isn't final. Your fight is only over when you throw in the towel. What initiates champions? The Almighty. My endurance is built strong like never before.
Loud sighs and cries rang out throughout the courtroom as the judge uttered the words that Henry Dinkins was undeniably guilty in the case of Bri Asia Terrell, noting his lack of remorse and the pure evil that resided in his heart. The judge immediately handed Henry Dinkins a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole, making his period of freedom extremely short-lived, as he had only been out of prison for 4 months when he took Bri Asia from her mother, grandmother, and brothers. When Henry had finally received justice for his crimes, Aisha and her family say that true closure will never be achieved without their beloved Bri Asia Terrell.
All right. Your Honor, my name is Aisha Lankford, as I said before, mother of Bri Asia Terrell. Before I continue, I'd like to thank the court for providing me the opportunity for me to speak today. I have a number of questions for you, Henry Dinkins, surrounding that night that played through my mind every day. Did she want me? Was she scared? Did she see those gunshots coming? Did you shoot her while she was trying to get away? Did she scream for help? Did she beg you to stop? Did you see in her face when she realized she was shot the first time? What was her last words? Did you stay and watch my baby die? How long did she suffer? Did you watch the life leave from her beautiful hazel eyes? What did you do to my son? Why? Do you know the answers?
This for Bri Asia!
More than 3 years since Bri Asia Terrell went missing, justice, in a legal sense, was served.
There is no amount of justice to do that can compare to what he took from me. He took everything from me. He took away a lot from me. He took a lot from me. He broke me down and he took a lot.
Bri Asia's mom, Aisha Lankford, flanked by loved ones as they add to Bri Asia's memorial near where police found her body.
Today makes 1,163 days that we've been waiting for something. I feel like I won those lucky lottery numbers. Cause oh my God, I feel so good. I feel so relieved.
Aisha feeling like her life can move forward.
I felt okay when he got to reading it off and he's saying guilty and I'm like, okay, so now I know I can breathe again because he took that away from me. To be able to be comfortably, to move around and be able to breathe. And now I can breathe again.